and welcome to Extraordinary People in an Ordinary World. I'm your host, Beth, and I'm an ordinary person amazed by the extraordinary people surrounding us. This podcast is about people who live among us who are doing extraordinary things. You can expect to meet people from all walks of life doing things that may inspire you, make you want to change, or just simply sit back and delight in their stories. I have met the most extraordinary people in my ordinary world, and I am so grateful to have the opportunity to share their stories. Now listen in and enjoy. Your inspiration may be right here in this episode. Welcome back to the show. Today's episode, my guest is the exact reason why I started this show. He's a man who I've been acquainted with for probably over 35 years. He is my sister-in-law, Bernadette's cousin, and while we never spent much time together, I learned about who he was at a family party where we were discussing the start of my podcast. He and I have been corresponding back and forth through email since last January about each episode I published. He's even given me a review on every episode. We got talking, and I came to know him more, and it immediately clicked. He's the reason why I started this show. He's the type of person that's out there doing these extraordinary things, and we don't know anything about him. He is someone we all should know, not for any extraordinary development, not for any book publishing, not for any foundation that he may have founded, but for being the type of person who's there for those in need without recognition or reward. I can't wait for you to listen to his story of devotion to his work, his community, and most importantly, his family and his developmentally disabled brother, Neil. My guest, Rocco Mazza, will delight you with his story and his humility. This conversation is honest, heartfelt, and candid. It reminds us there are people like Rocco who have a passion for bringing good to the world. Without further ado, let me welcome Rocco to the show. Thank you for being here.
It is my pleasure, and I am really, truly honored. I am humbled by this extraordinary opportunity.
I'm so glad to have you here. I mean, we've seen each other. We've been at parties together so many times over the last 35 plus years, but we've really increased our relationship, I believe, over the last year or so.
Yeah, we never really knew each other well. Now we do.
Yeah, I love it. So, of course, like I said, I've known you from my sister-in-law. I knew your aunts and your mom. I've never met your brother, but your brother is developmentally disabled. And I was hoping that we could maybe start, you can tell me about your childhood, how many siblings, where you grew up, when you realized that you had a brother with a developmental disability. And we can talk a little bit there and then go from there.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was born in Jersey City in Margaret Hagen Maternity Hospital because my whole family came from the Marion section of Jersey City. That's where we started. So I was born there. And
I was born there.
Yeah, there you go. So I was about 2 years approximately older than my brother. So what happened was 1959, my brother was born in late December in 1959. And he was born first. And he seemed like a normal baby when he was born. I got this from my family, my mother's stories, telling me about this. And for some reason, I don't know the details, but for some reason he lost oxygen in the neonatal unit, and he lost oxygen severely. And so, but the doctors there didn't think it was such a big deal, and they revived him. He's good. He's fine. Blah blah blah. My mother took him home, and after about 6 months to a year, she noticed that he wasn't responding the way other typical children, babies, would respond, and sitting up and rolling over and so forth and so on. So she, of course, as the mom, thought there was something wrong. So she then had him evaluated, and lo and behold, he wound up with severe, profound developmental and intellectual disabilities. Severely. So he was not, disability is a very long, wide spectrum. There's very mild to very severe. My brother's on the very severe side. He is nonverbal, and he also has cerebral palsy, which hampered his mobility. So he needed complete and total care from my mother, 100%. Now, to my mom's credit, and I always found this fascinating, is she had that baby, She found out he has severe disabilities and he was a handful because of that. And
Mm-hmm.
yet she still wanted another child
Hmm.
without fear that the other child would be affected by disability.
Right.
And and in 1961, I was born. So my brother was
Mhm.
59. I was born in 1961. And so she had me. So I grew up with my brother. My brother was, like I said, a couple years older than me. And we grew up together. So I just got used to him being who he was. And
Okay.
you might say, well, what was your awareness level? Well, I was a baby from 61 to 64. Thereabouts, I was
Hmm.
3 years old in 64. But by the time I gotta say, by the time I was 2, 3, 4 years old, I understood that he was special because
Okay.
he was different. And
Did he ever
yeah,
walk or no? He never walked.
he did not walk at that time. He did not
Okay.
walk until many years later.
Okay.
And but at that time he did not walk. So from the age of birth until he was about, I'd say, 12, 13 years old, 12 years old maybe, he did not walk. When he turned 12, he started walking. Because he has cerebral palsy, he walks with a very halting gait and very unsteady on his feet. So he needs somebody to hold his hand to guide him so he has balance, even today,
Okay.
even today.
Yeah.
So, but he learned how to walk because my parents in 1970 found a place in Hawthorne, New York called the Margaret Chapman School. Living,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't want to ramble, but in the 60s, my mother had severe rheumatoid arthritis. This is
Okay.
key because it was aggressive. She was young at that time, okay? She was born in
And a lot
1927.
less treatment options back then, too.
Correct. A lot less treatment
Yeah.
options back then. No, none of these fancy pills and pain medication, all this. It's a whole different story. So she had severe rheumatoid arthritis, and she wound up in the late 60s bedridden for quite a while, for many months. And so her sisters, she has five sisters. My mother had five sisters. And two of those sisters, well, my aunts, Loretta and Teresa, they lived together in Jersey City forever since birth, and they never married. They were the only two
Mm.
sisters that did not get married. So they had no children. So what happened was they used to, even since long before my mother's arthritis kicked in, they would come to Lyndhurst. My mother and father moved to Lyndhurst in 1959. No, I'm sorry, moved to Lyndhurst in 1956 after they got married.
Okay.
And even though my brother Neil was born in Jersey City in Margaret Hague, and I was born in Margaret Hague as well in Jersey City. They had moved into the suburb, the country at that time,
Yes.
the country. And so my aunts would take the bus. They never drove and they never
Hmm.
had children and they never got married. So they took the bus frequently, like multiple times a week, to my house in Lyndhurst to help my mother care for my brother because my brother was needed full and total and complete care.
Did either one of your aunts work?
They both worked.
They both worked and
They both
still
worked,
did
and they
this
still did this.
assistance.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
They were amazing. I can't even begin to tell you about them because that's a show by itself. They're amazing. The love,
Another extraordinary person.
another
People.
extraordinary people, because the love that they had in their hearts for me and my brother is beyond description. So it's off the charts. If there was such a thing as angels on earth, that is them.
Aw.
So my mother was bedridden in the late 1960s from this arthritis. It's very bad. And so my aunts came to Lyndhurst and set up shop in our house and took care of my brother and I
Oh, wow.
for that period of time. And it dawned on my father. My father worked. My mother never worked. We have a traditional Italian family. Their parents came over in 1900 on the boat from Italy.
Mm.
And so they were very traditional. So my mother didn't work. My mother's job was the family. And my father worked. My father worked like a dog. He worked, oh my God, like 14 hours a day. He was a tailor in Macy's department store.
Oh, wow.
And he was the head tailor. He was the supervising tailor for the men's suit department. He handled all of Macy's suits. So anyway, he realized that my mother couldn't physically take care of my brother.
Mm-hmm.
So they found this place in New York, in Hawthorne, New York, called Margaret Chapman School. And they placed my brother. It's a residential place.
That's what I was going to ask. Was
It's
it
a residential
residential?
place. But I
Okay.
got to tell you, it was established by a gentleman named Mr. Bannister. I'll never forget that guy. He, at that time, was like a revolutionary person in the developmentally disabled field, and those with autism. Back then, by the way, autism was very rare.
Right.
And by the way, the vocabulary was different back then, 1970. It was mental retardation.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even call my brother developmentally disabled in the 1960s and 1970s. He was mentally retarded, severely mentally retarded. We retired that term now. And so now it's developmentally disabled. So they taught my brother to walk, and they taught my brother to feed himself. Up to
Really?
then, he did not feed himself with physical tools, special tools.
Right. Adaptive tools.
Adaptive tools. Thank you. Yes.
Is that
So
how he learned to walk also? Did he have any type of braces? Or because I would imagine he had a lot of muscle shrinking while he didn't walk for 11 years.
You want to hear something strange?
Yeah.
Ever since he was a child to this day, and he's 60, I don't know, 66. He'll be 66 next week, 2 weeks. His body is lean, and he's 100% solid muscle.
Really?
There is no fat on him. And when I say muscle, I mean strength.
That's something.
That was something, because as a child, if he didn't want to go where you wanted him to go, he would fight you, and you could not do it. So my mother expended a lot of energy. It took sometimes 3 of them, my mother and my 2 aunts, to get him to bed or to get him out of the kitchen or whatever, because it was very difficult.
So from this first residential, he didn't stay in residential. He came home eventually.
Well, what happened was, at that time, the state of New Jersey was paying for him to be in Hawthorne, because the state of New Jersey didn't have any place available for him. This is 1970, so New Jersey was paying for him. Then, 1973, the governor of New Jersey decided that he's not going to pay anymore for out-of-state placement for those with disabilities. So they canceled his placement, and they brought him back to New Jersey. And then it was up to my parents to find a place for him to go. That was 1973. Now, I have to tell you this. This is what kicked off everything. This began everything. When they were sending him back to New Jersey, my mother went into a state of utter and total panic, because he was being very well taken care of at Margaret Chapman.
I understand that.
He made great strides, and their only concern was his welfare and benefit. And so my mother was having a nervous breakdown. And I mean that in the most literal sense. And so the state of New Jersey decided to send my brother. They were going to transfer him from Margaret Chapman in New York to Vineland. Vineland. Now, we live in Lyndhurst. My mother, when he was at Margaret Chapman, and this habit stayed with us through their whole lives while they were adults. My mother would go visit him almost every weekend. And with my father and me. So this is, by the way, growing up with my brother. Can I just go back a little bit in the 60s?
Of course. Yes, please.
Growing up with my brother, I became, because of his specialness, and I learned empathy and love through my brother. And so even to this day, I have a tremendous capacity for empathy and love for people.
I vouch for that.
Because of him in the 1960s, as I was a child. One time, one of my friends who lived up the block from me, my brother was in the window looking out, and he made fun of my brother outside.
Oh, boy.
He made fun of my brother. It was very cruel. Kids. And I saw that, and I went outside, and I beat the heck out of him. I beat him up. I'm like 8 years old, 9 years old, and this is the 1960s, and this is what you do in the 1960s when somebody makes fun of your disabled brother.
That's okay. Right.
I beat him up, and I was very good friends with his person, because I used to play football in the backyard with him and all that kind of stuff, and I never spoke to him again. I completely cut off communication with him. I never spoke to him again, because how dare you do that to my brother? So that is like the intensity of my love and loyalty to my brother that I had at that time. So again, when he was in Margaret Chapman, and we used to go every weekend to visit him, I went with my mother and father, and so we used to go visit him. And so when the state of New Jersey said they were going to send him to Vineland in 1973, my mother had a nervous breakdown because Vineland is at the other end of the state of New Jersey from Lyndhurst, and it takes a couple hours to get to Vineland.
Yeah, and how far was Hawthorne? How far was
Hawthorne
that?
Was less than an hour.
Okay.
Less than an hour. Whereas Vineland was more than a couple hours. It was just far, far away from Lyndhurst. And so by the time they got down there, visited with my brother and came home, they just couldn't physically do it. They just didn't have the energy to do it. And they didn't have the time to spend with him. So what happened was my mother panicked, literally. And so my father had to step in and figure out what to do. How do I fix this? So he was driving by on Route 78 one day. This was around 1971, let me tell you, whatever. And he saw a construction going up. Actually, this was 19. He saw construction going up. And he saw that it was a state facility being built in Clinton, New Jersey, Huntington Developmental Center. At that time, it was called Huntington School. So he just filed it in the back of his head. And because then they went to Margaret Chapman, 1970. So in 1973, when they were going to send him to Vineland, my father was trying to get the state of New Jersey to switch my brother to Huntington Developmental Center. And they wouldn't do it. The bureaucracy, the State Department of Human Services would not do it. This is 1973. So my father then tried to use now my mother and father were never politically involved. My mother was very politically smart. She used to watch all the news and the TV, and that's a whole other story. And all the political conventions on television. That's how I got into politics, from my mother watching all this stuff on TV. So anyway, but my father and mother never joined anything. They were never part of a political party, formal party. They never got involved. They never got. No, they were not. They were regular people. They were regular people, hardworking people. So my father decided to contact every politician he could find to do him the favor and have my brother switch from Vineland to Huntington. And everybody turned him down. Nobody could do it. Nobody could do it. He went to former state legislators that he knew. He used to go to the local bar and have a couple drinks with a former state legislator. He couldn't do it. He went to everybody you could imagine, even those who were a little bit, how shall I say, funny people, dangerous people. Whatever he had to, because my mother was having a nervous breakdown. Finally, January of 1974, Governor Brendan Byrne had just gotten inaugurated. Governor Byrne.
Okay.
And so and equally, our Lyndhurst mayor had just became a state senator. Okay, they just got sworn in. This is January 1974.
Let me just stop you for 1 minute.
Sure.
At this time, where was Neil? Was he all the way in Vineland or home with you guys?
No, he was home with us.
Okay.
He had to leave Chapman, but he was with us. But it was very difficult. Very difficult. And none of the progress that he made up in Chapman, my mother couldn't do that for him at home.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. So my father went to the newly sworn in state senator, Anthony Scardino, who was the mayor of Lyndhurst at that time. And he went into Scardino's office and he explained the situation and that my mother was literally physically ill over this because my brother was her entire world. And Anthony Scardino picked up the phone and called Brendan Byrne. And the governor said, by 3:00 this afternoon, bring him to Huntington.
Wow.
Turns out that Brendan Byrne's daughter was a resident of Huntington Developmental.
Look at that.
So Brendan Byrne himself, through Anthony Scardino, placed my brother in Huntington to be with his daughter. And that's how my brother got into Huntington Developmental Center, which is a state-operated, state-funded facility for those with severe and profound disabilities.
And he's still there today.
Still there today. He's
still
having
there today.
Wonderful time there. And again, my mother, of course, and me and my father would go every weekend and visit him. And I'll go even better than that. We didn't just go visit him. No, I take that back. My mother insisted on cooking for my brother.
Oh, right?
Sunday dinner. She insisted on cooking Sunday dinner for my brother. So we would have, me and my father and my aunts, again, Loretta and Teresa, would go to Huntington, pick my brother up, take him home to Lyndhurst so my mother can cook Sunday macaroni for him.
Macaroni?
Yes. So that's what we did often, very, very often. And that was our routine for many years. Then later on, as my mother was physically advancing with her rheumatoid arthritis again, although she later on, she got pills and stuff, which helped a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She would then when I learned how to drive, I'll put it this way, when I learned how to drive, I would drive to Hunterdon with her, with my mom, and we would pick my brother up, take him home, and my aunts would be at the house cooking
Doing
the
the
dinner
cooking.
so that when we got back, we would feed him and hang out with him for a while and then take him back. And that was a routine for many, many years. Many
Wow.
years.
Like it's hard if you're a child and you have a brother or sister or whatever
Yep.
with the disability.
Yep.
It's not easy. Did you ever feel neglected, jealous, mad, angry, any of that?
I have to tell you, I had the greatest parents in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I still go to the cemetery every weekend to visit them, to thank God that I had those parents, because my mother was acutely aware of me, of my brother getting all that attention and care. And I had empathy. I grew I had a huge empathy gene in me. So anybody who was vulnerable, sick, poor, you name it, all those with struggles and challenges, I had felt very deeply in my heart about them. So what my parents did was, I think they overcompensated. I don't want to use the word spoiled, but they, they did compensate. They treated me like gold. I got everything I ever wanted, every gift imaginable. I was able to do anything I wanted, but I never felt entitled. My reaction to it at that time, growing up in the 1960s, 70s, was I did not deserve that. I did not deserve all that love, but I was thankful for it. I was grateful and I was humbled by it. That was
Yeah.
my reaction because I knew the dynamic. I knew the dynamic. So no, to answer your question is I never felt badly or shunned or ignored or they overcompensated for me. Every Christmas, my Christmas tree was full of everything. I got everything. I'll tell you one quick story. One year my father gave me for Christmas, Santa Claus gave me a Super 8 millimeter camera. And at that time I was a budding filmmaker. I wanted to go to Hollywood.
Oh.
My vision was to go to Hollywood and make movies. So when I opened that gift and saw that camera, I just burst in
Oh.
tears because I never thought in a million years I would get a camera.
Aw.
And they did that for me. Again, I didn't feel entitled. I felt literally grateful, like superbly grateful. And I
Mm.
just thanked them like crazy. And I cried and I cried and I cried.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. So yeah, so they did overcompensate and gave me everything I wanted. So yeah.
I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Calm Creations. If you like relaxing by the warm glow of a candle with the scent that brings back memories, I've got the perfect candle company for you. Calm Creations, based in New Jersey, makes high quality, beautifully scented candles, and 10% of their profits go to benefit nonprofit organizations. Check out their amazing selection at calmcreations.com. And thank you for being a sponsor of Extraordinary People in an Ordinary World.
You had said that there was a little bit of bureaucracy. It was a little hard getting him from one place to the next. And over the last year or so, we've talked a bit. And I know like your lifetime mission now is to be involved with human services and human services issues, DDD.
Right. Yep.
Tell me about what you do today in that sector.
Well, first of all, my father, let me just say this. My father, pancreatic cancer in 1990.
Oh, wow.
And he had X amount of months to live. We knew that. And
Mm-hmm.
so he wanted to make sure the affairs were all tidied up. And he was the guardian. He and my mother were co-guardians for my brother, legal
Okay.
guardians. So he turned over the guardianship to me before he knew he was gonna die. He knew.
How old were you then?
Let's see. I was about 30 years old. 30.
Okay.
And he died in December of 1991 from pancreatic cancer. But before he died, he did all the paperwork. He got the attorney, and I became his legal guardian. My mother was still alive. Was still alive, but she wanted me to be the legal guardian because I was very much involved in politics at that time and things like that. And so I knew government very well. So she wanted me to be on top of it. So
What
I
did
did.
you do in politics?
I was everybody's campaign manager.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I was a campaign manager for many, many different politicians for all at every level of government, from municipal to Congress to everybody, just everybody. So I did that professionally. So anyway, long story short, I became a trustee on the board of trustees for the Huntington Developmental Center Family Association, which is the Association for Huntington Developmental Center. So I became a trustee on that board, and I was the community affairs outreach coordinator. So, because I knew everybody in Trenton. And so that's what I had been doing ever since 1991. In the 1990s, I just say, during the 1990s, I got on that board. So to this day, I'm still on that board. And I still advocate for those who have severe disabilities and for those specifically who are in developmental centers. Because over the years, the state of New Jersey had 10 developmental centers. They closed 5 of them over the years.
Is that right?
And I was an advocate for non-closure of that. So, and I'm all for community placement. I'm all for community group homes. But what they wanted to do was they wanted to shut all the developmental centers down and transfer everybody into the group homes. And I knew, and a lot of people who are smart know, that the group homes are not well funded. And so the care that my brother gets at Huntington Developmental Center is all inclusive and comprehensive. There's a full 24-hour, 7-day-a-week medical care, 65 days a year. Doctors on duty, nurses on duty, professional caregivers on duty, speech pathologists, therapists of every type on duty, physical therapists, emotional therapists, psychologists. They all care for these clients or these residents in the developmental centers 24/7. So my brother had, for all these years, from 1974 to today, he's had that level of care 7 days a week. So I wanted to protect that. So I was always advocating for non-closure centers. But what they state did was they closed 5 centers down over a period of 15 to 20 years. They closed 5 centers. And then they transferred some of the residents into the community, which, by the way, had terrible effects on some of those clients. A couple of them died, to be honest with you, because the care level went down. They needed tremendous hands-on, intense care. And so there's 5 developmental centers left, and I'm working.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
I mean, here, like, fast forward to 2026 we're in now.
Yep.
So this is January 2026. Do you feel like we need more of these developmental centers, because some of those, I feel like we have an increase in that population?
Correct. I do. Matter of fact, what the state has done over the years, and is to this day, the policy where they've canceled all new admissions into the developmental centers.
Wow.
So if you need care, you have to be placed in a group home. Again, I'm all for group homes. I think they should be better funded. I think they should get the kind of intense funding that we have over at the developmental centers, but they're not there yet. So they're woefully underfunded and understaffed, by the way.
Right.
And if you're caring for if you care about your loved one, you don't want them to be in that situation. So, and of course, every group home is different. So I don't want to paint a broad brush. Some group homes are better than others, but there are so many that are not adequate, and that's the problem. So I would like to see the state of New Jersey open up admission so that state developmental centers become an option. Because I believe in a smorgasbord of options. I think a parent should have the choice of where they want to place their child who's disabled, and give them that choice. And the state of New Jersey has taken them that choice away. Right now, in order to be admitted into a state developmental center with that intensified care, 24-hour care, you have to have a court order. You literally have to have a court order, because I know people who went into a group home and they were either abused or they didn't get the care they needed, which threatened their lives. And the parents had to go before a judge. And because of the extreme circumstances, the judge then ruled that child would be placed in Huntington Developmental Center, among other the other 4 developmental centers as well. So
Hmm.
so you can't get in without a judge at this point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm advocating to open up the admissions process and to, if possible, increase developmental centers. But at the very least, to preserve the 5 we have.
So the 5 that we have, would there be a bed available there if you wanted to get in? When I say bed, like a room
Yes,
placement,
yes,
there would
yes.
be.
Because what they did was when they froze admissions, as they age out and
Right.
pass away, they're not refilling those beds.
Okay.
So there's plenty of beds available, which is why I want to open up admissions.
Mm,
For those who are severely profound and for those to give the parents the option.
right,
The
right. I
option.
have a friend who has a son who's
Mhm.
developmentally disabled severely, but she's cared for him. She's
Right.
been able to care for him at her home. So like you said, the option is
Yeah.
what you want.
The option. And that was, by the way, my father's overriding concern, which is the reason why he placed my brother in Margaret Chapman in 1970 and why he fought so hard for my brother to get into Huntington Developmental Center in 1974. And the reason being is that everybody's concerned about what happens to them, the parents.
Right.
When the parent passes away, that child becomes a ward of the state, essentially, if they have
Mm-hmm.
no legal guardian in their family. And the state assigns a state guardian, and it's not the same as a
No.
family member being guardian. It's not the same.
Mm-mm.
So there are some excellent legal guardians from the state, but I know a handful of them that are excellent, but not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Every parent's nightmare is what happens to them when they pass on and what happens to their child. So you're right. That's another reason why I think that we need to keep this as an option,
Right.
developmental studies as an option, so that the parents can have peace of mind. If they can't get them into a satisfactory group home that they like and they trust, then at
Mm-hmm.
least get them into the state
Yeah.
developmental center.
So is there anything that you're working on right now for that?
Well, we have a new governor.
Okay.
So we have a new governor. Every time, by the way, every time the administration changes, Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter to me. Our family association stays right on top of it because
Okay.
you try to create a relationship with that administration. And that's what I work on all the time, is creating a relationship. So now my next challenge is to create a relationship. And I've begun that process. Trust me. I've begun that process to create a relationship with the new administration so that they'll hear us. We have a voice. We have a seat at the table. We have a voice. So I'm working on that right now. And like I said, I want to preserve the developmental centers and I want the group homes to be better funded. I want all of
Yeah.
that.
Right. Now you do all this. That's volunteer
Yeah.
though.
It's volunteer.
Right.
Yes.
So
Yes,
what do
that's
you
both.
do for your work?
For work,
Yeah. Tell me a little.
I take care of.
Take a minute to tell me
Yeah.
about your work.
Yes. I have been working for the county of Bergen from on and off since 2001. I was chief of staff for a Bergen County freeholder at that time, now called commissioner. And then she became a state assemblywoman, and I became her chief of staff as a state assemblywoman. Valerie Vanieri Huddle, the greatest, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest assemblywoman ever. And she became chairperson of the Assembly Human Services Committee. So I was involved in the most important human services issues in Trenton. So that's how come I had a lot of contacts and a lot of people, and I was heavily involved. So now I retired, quote unquote, from her office from the state, and I went to work for the Human Services Department in Bergen County in 2011. And I went to the Human Services Department and became the director of the Human Services Advisory Committee, which makes up all of the advocates and nonprofit agencies in the county regarding every facet of a human services imaginable. We advocated for senior citizens, children, young children, veterans, United States veterans, developmentally disabled, every single domestic violence victims, anything, children in the juvenile detention center because they ran with the law. We advocated for everybody. So I directed that for a while, and then in 2021, we were in COVID. Remember COVID?
Yes, I remember it well.
COVID. Yes, we were in COVID, and then they assigned me from that position to a brand new family homeless shelter they just opened up in 2021. So I am now the housing counselor in our Bergen Hearts, Hearts, family homeless shelter in Hackensack since 2021. So we have children under the age of 18 and their homeless parents who have found themselves struggling with low income, and they have been displaced by eviction because they can no longer afford to pay their rent, and they've lost their jobs, or they don't have adequate education to get a decent job. Every circumstance you could possibly imagine, including domestic violence victims, among others. And those who have been abandoned by the fathers of these children, as well as we've had cases where the mom abandoned the father with the children.
Okay.
We've had it all. So anyway, I work in a family homeless shelter with children under the age of 18, from newborn to 18, and their homeless parents. And I counsel them, and we rebuild their lives brick by brick. We help them, we guide them to all the resources that the government has. The job training, help them find a new job and to increase their income, and then to help find adequate, affordable housing, which is very difficult, but we do it. Very hard work, because there is very little affordable.
Yeah.
However, we also tap into what is now limited government subsidies for rent. So, and it's limited. So we try to emphasize on helping them rebuild their lives, and many of them need mental health therapy, and we refer them to mental health therapists, and we do all that. So anyway, we guide them through their rebuilding their lives, and I do that now every day.
Yeah, it seems like most of your work has always been about helping and advocacy and being there for others and being empathetic.
Correct.
One thing I want to touch on, because I want to make sure the audience knows truly what a remarkable man you are, is you also cared for your mom when she was sick, and your aunts.
And my father died in 1991, and 1995. My mother got Guillain-Barré, which is a crippling disease, which she was crippled from the neck down, bedridden and crippled. And I had to take care of her, and she needed intensive therapy, and we did that. And so for about 5 years, she was not walking, and then they got her walking again on a walker. But her fingers were crippled. She could no longer cook or anything like that. So I was taking care of her completely.
At home.
At home. And again, another case where my aunts from Jersey City, Greta and Teresa, I'm telling you, living saints, they would come over into Lyndhurst and help take care of her, whenever they could. A lot on weekends and some in some evening. And so, I took care of my mother for a long, long time, for 20 years, from 95 to 2016, when she passed away.
What was your mom and dad's name? I just want it.
My father was Neil Mazza.
Okay.
By the way, my father was Neil Anthony Mazza, in case you want to know where I get Rocco Anthony Mazza from.
Okay.
And my mother is Josephine Mazza.
Okay.
And
I think it's important that people hear their names, because they definitely have a son who they taught the right way.
They were the greatest parents in the world, and I didn't deserve them, but I was blessed to have them.
Yes.
And so I devoted myself to my family. I took care of my mother for 20 years, and then my Aunt Teresa got dementia. She got a severe case of frontal temporal dementia.
They can be pretty violent with that, right? Frontal temporal?
Yeah, I wouldn't say violent so much, but
anger.
Extremely debilitating.
Yeah.
Like, she lost her speech.
I believe that's what Bruce Willis has.
Yeah, she lost her speech. Yes, she lost her speech. And then before you know it, she just couldn't do anything. And then she became basically like a zombie. Like that. So I took care of her. And then I had to, she got so bad that I had to place her into a nursing home in Jersey City. And so my Aunt Loretta and I used to go visit her. And that's the other thing I used to do. Every day after work, I would leave work and go straight to the nursing home. And every night we would have dinner together in the nursing home. And I would pick up Aunt Loretta and I would go there, or I would take Aunt Loretta would already be there, to be honest with you. She'd take the bus. And then I would take her home. And so we did that for a long, long, long time. And then Teresa passed away. By the way, she passed away the same year that my mother did. And she passed away just a few months before my mom. And then my mom, by the way, came down in her last year. She became significantly less mobile because she was bedridden a lot in the last couple of years of her life. And in the last year of her life, she got sundowning, which is a form of dementia, which meant every night when the sun went down, she literally had dementia. And she would forget who people were. She would not recognize me sometimes. And then in the morning, she'd be back to normal. Amazing how that works. The brain works.
It is.
But it was very, very tricky, very, very tricky. And she would, under that sundowning, be very physically, sometimes violent and very angry a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about your other aunt?
You
took care of her?
Yes, I took care of her because what happened was my mother died in 2016 and Teresa died in 2016. And then Aunt Loretta was by herself. And to be honest with you, when my Aunt Teresa went into the nursing home, they had to take her Social Security. You know, that's how that works, her Social Security. So my Aunt Loretta could no longer pay the rent because they were very low income, extremely poor. And they relied on both their incomes. They needed to pay the rent. They needed my Aunt Teresa's Social Security. My Aunt Loretta lost that Social Security. So I continued paying the rent for her. And then I decided, well, my mother died and I moved out of my house in Lyndhurst and I moved into Jersey City, into my aunt's apartment, Aunt Loretta's apartment in Jersey City to take care of her. And I was paying the rent and I would also pay the grocery bill. So I was just trying to keep her afloat.
Yeah.
And so I took care of her that way. And then she had 2 heart attacks and 2 strokes. Can you imagine that? Within a few months apart, 2 heart attacks and 2 strokes.
Wow.
And so she needed severe medical help. And so I put her in the same nursing home. She willingly went. She understood. I could not work.
Right,
I could not take care of her home all day, every day. And she needed that kind of care after the 2 strokes.
And that I think sometimes is something that people don't always understand is that you can't not work. So sometimes
exactly
a long-term care facility is the option.
Exactly. And for her, I placed her in the same exact facility that my Aunt Teresa had been in because we loved them. Loved them. Peace Care St. Joseph's, it's called now. Peace Care St. Joseph's. It's wonderful people. I will promote them to the day I die. They're in Jersey City on Favonia Avenue, and they're beautiful, beautiful people and wonderful. So they took care of my Aunt Loretta wonderfully until COVID hit.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
COVID hit. They shut down the nursing home, isolate everybody. I could no longer visit her. She became brokenhearted. We used to do online
FaceTime,
but it was not the same because she was hard of hearing. So we could not communicate well with each other on FaceTime. She was brokenhearted and she died at 98. So it's not like she didn't live a full life.
Right.
She died at 98 in her suite at the Peace Care St. Joseph's facility during the height of COVID. And so what broke my heart was I could not be with her in her final days.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart. And to this day, that has scarred me. And I'm still not over it, to be honest with you. And I don't blame anybody, but it was that COVID. It was a circumstance.
It was a circumstance, but it did leave a lot of people heartbroken and a little bit of post-traumatic stress from not being able to be with their loved ones when they needed to be.
100%. So one thing I want everybody to understand is that family, to me, I can speak for myself, and everybody is different because everybody has different family situations. But family for me meant everything, and it still does to this day. I'm still close to all my cousins. And by the way, growing up in an Italian household with a lot of cousins were extended siblings.
Yes.
Okay, so I consider Bernadette one of my many. I have like dozens and dozens and dozens of cousins, but I consider many of them as extended siblings. Like Bernadette to me is my sister.
Yes.
That's just that's how I behave. That's how I think about it.
Even your mom and your aunts, they were always at everything that I've ever come to.
Yes. So cousins were just part of the family. I mean, extremely close. So I say to people, if you have a loving family, don't take it for granted. Never take it for granted. Never. Like I said, I was spoiled, but I never felt entitled. And I was always humbled by the love that I received from all my family members, every one of them, all my cousins and aunts and uncles and everybody. I may write a book someday. Because of the level of love that I receive from my family is off the charts. And
that's beautiful.
So I tried to reciprocate. So in my mind, it was not even a possibility of not taking care of my mom and my aunts. It's not even within the realm of the possibility. I had to take care of them.
A rare quality. Not everybody would do that. I think that that's a good place for us to end today.
Excellent.
I do want to thank you. Was there anything else that you wanted to share before we say goodbye?
Just that empathy and love means everything. And I am glad that my brother taught me empathy and love. And it's because of him that I'm the kind of person I am today, literally, because I grew up in the 1960s when he was a child and I was very protective of him. And there you go. So that love and empathy.
Well, you make me want to be a better person. That's for sure. Your story reminds us that the most meaningful lives are lived quietly and showing up day after day without applause and choosing responsibility over recognition. You gave up so much time to your sibling, still giving up time to your sibling, to your aunts, to your mom, your devotion to your brother, your family, your community. It's a powerful reminder for everybody that goodness doesn't always have to announce itself, but it always leaves an impact. And you've left an impact on me. Your goodness is beyond anything I could even describe. So I want to thank everybody for listening. And I hope this conversation stays with them in a small way and that they continue to show up for others the way that you did. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And I'm truly humbled.
Happy New Year to everyone and you.
Thank you for joining me on Extraordinary People in an Ordinary World. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Please share with a friend. If you know an extraordinary person, I would love to hear from you so that I can feature them on the show. Please email me at bethextraordinarypeople@gmail.com, or you can message me on Instagram at extraordinary_people_podcast. I look forward to hearing from you. And in the words of Saint Mother Teresa, not all of us can do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. I look forward to our next extraordinary person, the first Friday of next month. See you then.